Hello everybody, Sunday Adelaja here. Welcome to another of our teaching on Africans. Are black African people cursed? Well, definitely not. If you look at history and you study the advent of Africans and what black African people have done all over the world, you will quickly come to the conclusion that no, they are not cursed. You cannot use the present history alone to judge a whole nation and a whole people. You know, because there are different stages in the history of different nations and different people as well. So you cannot just use a fragment and a little piece of information about a nation to, reach a conclusion about them. You've got to have a holistic understanding, a more comprehensive studies to be able to know to be able to come to a conclusion about the people. So today we are going to continue to study about African people, that they are not cursed, but they are rather a blessing to the whole world. And here we go. Today's topic is Africans' influence on Eastern civilized religion, in Eastern religion on Eastern religions, Okay, now let's go back to CHEIKH ANTA DIOP. So anthropologist CHEIKH ANTA DIOP is one of the most famous professors and experts in the question of African studies. And so his own discovery about Africa, and he's written some very big books on that. So CHEIKH ANTA DIOP highlighted two poles of civilization in ancient times. Southern civilization created by black people and northern civilization created by white people. And I think it's still the same thing today. People still talk about people of the north and people of the south. In addition to their racial characteristics, there were also corresponding cultural differences. In southern cradle of civilization, which has its root in Africa, it was characterized by matriarchal family structure, equality of women and men in everyday life, creation of a territorial state, interest in everything foreign as opposed to local, whether it was manners, styles, or nations, international worldview, and a kind of social collectivism that guaranteed security of rights for everyone. Now, if you go to Africa today, it will be difficult for people to actually believe that the ancient Africans had matriarchal style of rulership and government. But the roles of women were actually equal to those of men, and often the women took the position of leadership. Especially in political and societal matters. Today, because of religion, the women have mainly been relegated to second-class position, but that's because of Islam and Christianity to some extent. But in the original African religion, women are actually the leaders, which is the opposite of what it used to be with the Europeans. From a moral point of view, the Africans had ideals of peace, justice, goodness, and an opportunistic point of view devoid of the concept of guilt or original sin. As for matriarchy, it was a well-balanced and harmonious dualism which was defended by representatives of both sexes. Regardless of gender, everyone could fully develop by engaging in activities that suited more to physiological characteristics of a person. The northern cradle of civilization, which is more European, on the other hand, was characterized by a patriarchal family, city-states outside of which a person was outlawed, fear and hostility towards unfamiliar things, individualism, moral and material isolation, pessimistic perception of existence itself. The northern cradle introduced cremation, that is the Europeans, introduced cremation, while in the south, the southern cradle, they practiced burials of the dead. That's African. Diop describes civilizations of Western Asia, some of which we have reviewed, and Byzantium as zone of fusion of these two polar civilizations. So Asia and Byzantine, the way we are showing right now in the photograph, is like the joining point. It's at a point of meeting point of the two civilizations, of the European and African. Sumerians called nomadic white tribes, they called the Europeans, MAR.TU, who do not have any idea about grains. So the Europeans didn't know what grains were at that time. MAR.TU, who do not have houses. At that point, the Europeans were the ones who didn't have houses and cities. Dim-witted people who came from the mountains do not know how to cultivate land. They didn't know how to cultivate land as such that time. Eat raw meat. That's the Europeans used to eat raw meat. Do not have a home throughout their life because they are nomadic. Nomadic. They used to travel like the what they call them, the Swedish and the Scandinavians, and who even after death do not get a proper burial. That's the way they used to look at them. The Africans used to look at them that time. Although ancient Indian literature of Aryans indicates that Aryan invaders discovered black barbarians in India. So that when the white Aryans came to India, there were already black people living in India. But even though, our argument here is going to be the fact that no, archaeological research in the Indus Valley conducted by John Marshall and later by Ernest Mackay showed the opposite, in the sense that they didn't discover the Africans. They came there to meet Africans. It was discovered that before the arrival of white tribes, a race with a complex civilization and a high level of culture that was equal, because the way the Aryans put it is as if they discovered Aborigine people. But what we are saying here is that no, they were already civilized, they were already having complex civilization, and they were already having their own culture. So it's not that they discovered them in the bush somewhere or something. That's what we're saying. So they already had complex civilization and a high level of culture that was equal and in some respects superior to the civilization of the Mesopotamia and Egypt and Mesopotamia. Because that time it was the Mesopotamia and Egypt civilization that was flourishing in that region. Nevertheless, by 800 BC, Aryans have already seized territories from Pakistan to the Indo-Gangetic plain. They called their new possessions Aryavarta, abode of Aryans. This is the place we are seeing right now in the photographs. These Aryan invasions happened before Christ, 1,000 years to 250 years before Christ. During this era, called by historians the Vedic civilization, foundations of Hinduism were formed. So going back to religion now. So how Africans influenced the religion of the East. Buddhism, let's start with Buddhism. In particular, the following two institutions of public life were established. The first one was called Sati and depicted an extreme patriarchal system of life, according to which a widow was to be born along with her deceased spouse. This is not the black people who did this. These are the Aryans, and they are the ones who do patriarchal system of. So their own, which is so strong that that women are not even counted as anything. They have to be killed and buried alive. The second one was called Jati or Varna and depicted a caste-like racial system of society Varna is literally translated as color. So that's what the Aryans did. So they started discriminating against the black people that they met there, and started discriminating against them like apartheid. And that is what is called caste system up to today. The last fourth Varna, composed of servants, was called Shudra, identified in religious mythology with black color. Yeah, so they discriminated against black people, even though they found them there. They performed the hardest work, and it was believed that Lord Brahma had created them from his feet. That's their religious belief. At the end of the 6th century before Christ, Buddhism, which in particular protested against that in the areas of India where black people were massively settled, it quickly acquired masses of followers. Diop points out a possibility that the Buddha was an Egyptian priest, because Buddha came and fought against that discrimination of Aryans against the black people. So, and people believe that Buddha himself was an Egyptian priest who left Egypt, who left Egyptian Memphis because of Persian invasion. This theory is confirmed by images of the Buddha with frizzy hair. That's the image. So because of that, and thanks to the fact that Buddha was fighting for the black people, he started having a lot of followership among the black people there. Subsequently, during the rise of Hinduism, following the decline of Buddhism, the simple, uncomplicated system of 4 Varnas grew into a complex, multi-layered jati system which established a strict order of alternation and correlation of different social groups. Also, a general agreement exists that in the 6th century before Christ, not only Buddhism was formed, but also the entire religious and philosophical movement in Asia. Confucius in China, Zarathustra in Iran. So all these things came as a influence or outlet from Buddhism. And if Buddha is said to be coming from Egypt and having African background, which means there is, and this Confucianism also came out of Buddhism, and Zarathustra and all these other religions of the East, they are having influence, they are being influenced by Buddhism, and Hinduism also came out of Buddhism. It means that there is African influence in all of this. So that's why I'm talking about this topic. This confirms a hypothesis of dispersion of Egyptian priests spreading their doctrines in Asia. Finally, there was an ancient Chinese philosopher, LAO TZU, the founder of Taoism, who also lived around 600 BC. According to a book called Human Origins, he was described as black. So this is another influence. This is another source of influence of black people over the Eastern religion. And that is coming from India, the Buddha influence, but this is coming from China. Ancient Greek philosopher, historian Diodorus of Sicily stated that astronomical knowledge of Babylonians was brought by a colony of Egyptian priests. So this is another confirmation of that. Diodorus Siculus of Sicily lived 80 to 30 years before, 30 centuries before Christ. And he confirms that also. He was the top #1 historian in ancient of Greece. In this chapter, the reader could get acquainted with the monumental influence that black people had on the development of Asian civilization. So in the next teaching that we are going to do, we will look at how Africans brought civilization to Europe, and that's a big one. I think people have been looking forward to that. I wrote a book on that, a whole book. It's called How Africans Brought Civilization to Europe. If you don't have the book yet, please go get that book. So all these my teachings are based on research. They are not my words. They are not my fantasies. These are historic, archaeological, and anthropological research that point to us to all these things. And also, I want to encourage you to go share this message. Share the message with your friends and family members. Share, share, share. And as you share the message right now, I also like to say, if you want to join my mentorship program, you can do that by going to sundayadelaijablog.com/mentorship. If you want to get my books, you can get them also by going to sundayadelaijablog.com/mentorship. If you want to come for History Makers training, you can come and join us by going to History Makers, by sundayadelaijablog.com/HNT. Same thing if you want to follow us to Nigeria. You could also register at sundayadelaijablog.com/Nigeria. So everything is around sundayadelaijablog.com. Just put what you want. Either it's mentorship/mentorship, if it's Nigeria/Nigeria, if it's books/books, if it's HMT/HMT. And now I would like to encourage you to go and see the video. Let's go and see the video that will also confirm further the influence of Africans over India and Asia in general. All right, here we go.
The art, science, music, literature, drama, the whole culture, particularly the religion of all the people of Asia, can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. India, Japan, China, just to name a few. Even Afro-American history can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. I know it sounds strange to you, but the world owes a debt to the Africans of Asia. In the following presentation, you'll find out exactly why. Just give me a few seconds. Your ancestors never intended to let you down. In this book, called The Gods of Northern Buddhism, we find a name, the Asian name of the supreme deity of the universe. His name is Sambo. They say when nothing else was, Sambo was the name of the God of the universe to the people of Asia. And there are many places that carry this name. This is a depiction of Sambo. This is not an African statue. This is from Asia. And many places in Asia are called Sambo Judasia, the land of the descendants of Sambo. Various spellings of the word and the name Sambo can be found throughout Asia. Negas, the divine people of Buddhism. This is a 2nd century depiction of Gautama the Buddha being given his first bath by the divine people of Buddhism called Negas. A tribe in Asia called Negas, the divine people of all the people of Asia, symbolized throughout Asia by the serpent or the dragon. That is their symbol. The Nega means serpent or dragon, the snake, found at the entrance of every temple. The Nega on the roads, on the hills, in the caves, the symbol of the Asiatic black man, the tribe called the Negas, the divine people. There are cities also throughout Asia that carries this particular name, Nega. It can be seen at all ceremonies dealing with worship of God. From the Nile Valley to the Indus Valley, on tombstones, a symbol of immortality because of the serpent's ability to change his skin is a sign of never dying, and is used throughout the planet Earth, North, South America, Egypt, Asia, Africa, throughout the world. It's the symbol of life after death, the Nega, the serpent. In all ancient cultures, in all ancient religions, the serpent is the symbol, the Nega, the symbol of divinity, of God. The original inhabitants of Southeast Asia was called the Mons, an African tribe. In order to confirm what these people look like, you have to go to the archaeological finds from Davarati, a French archaeological research finding confirming the original inhabitants. There's no depictions preceding these of the original inhabitants of Southeast Asia, the people, the descendants of Sambo, the Asiatic black man. The 7 serpents or 7 rays or the nagas surrounding his head represent the cosmic forces that afford him protection. He is a divine representation of cosmic forces, and those 7 serpents represent his divine mission. He does not come of his own. He's a manifestation of the cosmos. The serpents or the naga represent cosmic forces which is at his command, which represent him as a divinity. He is the manifestation of the universe. That is the symbol of those serpents you see surrounding his head. In essence, the 7 serpents are cosmological, dealing with astrology, astrological representations of those forces of the cosmos that he represents. He is a universal monarch, a universal king, which he manifests and he shows evidence of. The black man of Asia, the original inhabitants of Asia. He is a human being of flesh and blood. He comes as a teacher, as a manifestation of God. His teachings are called the Dhamma. He is called the Buddha, the intelligent one, the one who has achieved intelligence, or the genie, the conqueror. He comes to explain the laws of the universe. He comes to confirm that there is, in fact, life after death. When the Buddha appears, he appears as a preacher, and he preaches the Dhamma, that existence is a continual cycle of death and rebirth, and that each person's position and well-being in life is determined by his or her behavior in their previous lives. For example, good deeds may lead to rebirth as a wise and wealthy person or as a being in heaven, and a person's evil deed could lead to rebirth as a poor and sickly person, or even rebirth in hell. He preaches that you reap what you sow. A Buddha also teaches that it's possible to break out of this cycle and gain a kind of perfect peace and happiness by practicing righteousness. They are manifestations of God. According to their prophecies, they promise to prove and make manifest through a Buddha or a Jina life after death before the end of this century. How can you teach a people to know God if he himself does not know God? If you try teaching a Christian that God is also a human being or manifests himself in the form of a human being or makes himself known through a human being, they will say that you're crazy, that you don't believe in God. Meanwhile, they admit that he's a mystery God who is unknown. They teach not to make any likenesses of him, yet they adorn their walls and churches with pictures, images, statues like human beings. They also say he is a spirit that cannot be seen. They cannot see him, yet they believe in him. In order to remove all doubt, the Buddha, the enlightened one, the intelligent one, the genie, the conqueror, decided to make manifest to the world irrefutable evidence. They wanted to prove to a people in the future the manifestation of God, that God manifests himself through human beings, through men. Now, prophecy is irrefutable. A prophecy is a written confirmation of what will happen at a future date. These people, the black people of Asia, predicted or prophesied what they would do 2,500 years into the future. The prophecy states that he would send something from the past and join it with something from the future, something from the material world and join it with something from the spiritual world. The union of both the past and the future worlds and the spiritual and the material worlds would be contained in the revelation of a secret mystic diagram called the Mandela of two parts. This is a depiction of the future Buddha who would make this manifest at a point before the end of this century. Now the scriptures of the world have all prophesied at the end of the age, which we are now entering, the age of Aquarius, we shall see the revelation of that which is secret, and the emergence into the light of day of that which has hitherto been concealed and veiled. This, our present age, is that time, the end of the cycle, the beginning of the new age. This book by Ivan van Sertima raises the question of the African presence in early Asia. How did they get to Asia? This is the future Buddha. How did they get to Asia? They were called the Mons. And the wind and the rain in Asia is called the monsoon. This is the key to how they got to Asia. The monsoon wind in April blows from the southwest, and in October it blows from the northeast. The monsoon wind blows from Africa to Asia, and from Asia back to Africa. The wind from April to October blows from the southwest, and from October to April it blows from the northeast. These two trade routes and routes that of travel is the direction of the Mons, the Africans of Asia. They went from Africa to Asia, and from Asia to Africa, and they were called the Mons. Like the monsoon, Africa was called hither India, which India, here I am, come hither, come here where I am. And they would get on the ocean and get in the wind. This is where the phrase get in the wind come from your previous life. The Africans of Asia got to Asia by getting in the wind. This is confirmed from the first century. The Greeks knew how they got to Asia. The wafting sailors, they call it the divine ship of salvation. The Mons, when they would arrive in Asia and when they would leave Asia. The Japanese badge of nobility is called a Mon. The monsoon, the monastery, Mani, is identified with the black man of Asia. And the largest statues on the planet Earth located in Asia are depictions of the Buddha, the black man, the Jina. His hair confirms who he is. This is the largest statue in China and the largest statue on Earth depicting the black man. The oldest and largest manifestations of God, like this image of the Buddha in Thailand and Southeast Asia, are representations of the black Africans of Asia. There are no other statues or monuments of antiquity that precede them. They manifest themselves on earth and prove life after death. This from Ceylon or Sri Lanka, showing the Buddha, thousands of years old. They are the largest statues on earth, representing the black people of Asia, or the black man of Asia, the one who comes back from the dead to prove immortality. They do it all the time in all the countries, and they prophesied that they would do it before the end of this century. This is the largest statue in Sri Lanka, the largest statue in China, the largest statue in India, the largest monolithic statue on earth, the genie, the one who comes back from the dead, carved in solid rock 70 feet high. The largest monolithic statue on earth is the black man, and it is not in Africa, but it is in Asia. The Asiatic black man, the manifestation of God who comes back to preach and explain the doctrine of immortality, how to escape the fires of hell. That is his sole purpose. To attack him is to attack the cosmic forces of God. He sits in Western style because he will be born in the West. The people who he will be born among are called the niggas. This is the future Buddha, the one who is to come,